school, and I was lucky enough to find my first real job, a creative job. I was hired as an editor at Image Bank, and I worked for a commercial photography library bank. So I was the person that was looking at work that was coming in and deciding what was a successful image, what was a marketable image. Fascinating, right? Like, what image is better than the other? Not what you put on the wall, but what the marketplace would think is more exciting. So I did editing for a little while. It got me to New York. I was living in Texas at the time. And I was in the backyard, like the center of the world, right? The commercial world, New York. I was going into studios, I was talking to photographers, we were taking through files, I was seeing things that were still set up. And then I moved into an art directing role. So now I went from recognizing what was a successful image to making a successful image, deciding what it needs to look like, who we need to cast, what is the message. This light bulb, I had this light bulb moment at that point, that I was actually creating images that sold things, that made somebody go, I really, really like those shoes, I really need those shoes, to I really want those shoes, right? That is a really interesting skill to have. And when I started to realize that, this power of like how you can create an image that would actually be a driver, a trigger to buy something, I started to get really excited about marketing. What is strategy? What is branding? What is messaging? So I started to teach myself how to market. Like, how do you create an email campaign? Why do you need a blog? What is an advertising campaign? Why is a logo important? What is your tagline? I started working with people. I started outsourcing things. I'm the person that says yes until there's a no. So you want me to create a marketing campaign and I haven't done it before? Yes. I'll just find the people until it's a no, right? So, but eventually I did learn how to put this together, how to do it on a small scale, how to do it on a big scale, how to bring in people. So why am I standing here talking to you guys? Well, because that little Karen that was full of, rolled up shoes, pants and covered in mud, was told that I had to have a real job, right? But what I learned when I was a photo editor, when I was an art director, and then into marketing, is that if you understand how to create something that speaks directly to your audience, that answers a problem that they have, that like speaks in a way that feels authentic and true to who they are, guess what? You can have any job that you want. So for all you brave souls that are in here that are saying, hell yeah, I'm gonna be a ceramicist, or I'm gonna make macrame, or I'm gonna make beer, I'm gonna show you how I do it so that you can make these decisions. You don't have to rely on somebody for your success, that it's all in your hands. All right, so let's start with why people don't market well. Anybody read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? Fantastic, especially if you like to geek out on that sort of psychology behind things. So James's book is really great because it breaks down how to create a good habit. But what's even better is how he defines what happens to us, why we can't make a good habit stick, right? So in his discussion about making habits, I took what he was saying and I applied it to marketing. So people think marketing is a goal, right? Do we have any Office fans? The Office fans, right? Has anybody seen the one, my favorite one, where Michael declares bankruptcy, right? Like he walks out of his office, I declare bankruptcy, and he thinks that's gonna happen, right? Like it's hysterical. But people do that with marketing, right? Like I'm gonna start to market, but that's the goal. The goal, you need a path, you need a system to get there, and that's where people stumble. They think that it's like, this big abstract word that just covers that like bridge to success, but they don't really put the time and effort into creating that path. They're too vague, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, I'm gonna market, well, what does that mean? Well, I don't know. Well, how do you know then if you're successful, right? And then once you start taking the vagueness out of it, you have many successes that you can think of. So instead of feeling disappointed because it's sort of a either or scenario, I've got clients, then therefore marketing worked. I don't have clients, well then marketing didn't work, right? Like these are problems that people have, and that's why marketing doesn't work. The last one is that success in marketing doesn't have to be this massive action. Like to get this is not marketing and this is marketing, right? There's all these different steps in between. So if we start to project that path, like we create little steps, little wins, we are marketing all the way, right? If you had, this is from James too, if you were standing in a room at 25 degrees and you had an ice cube on the table and you just stared at it waiting for it to melt, and every few minutes the degree rose a bit, so you went from 25 to 26 to 27 to 28 to 29 to 30 to 31 to 32. All that time, the ice cube didn't do anything until you get to that tipping point, and then all of a sudden it disappears, right? Doesn't mean that that ice cube wasn't like preparing and something was in there that was changing as the temperature was going up. Marketing is like that too. There's a lot of busy work, there's a lot of steps that get you to that point where there's a tipping point. All right, one more thing from James. He has this graph, so I brought it to life. This is what we think we do. In the corner, results in time. I declare I am going to market, right? Now we're just going to skyrocket. It will be realistic, it won't be straight up, but it'll be a bit of a curve. But really, what is it? It's a lot of like flat line. It's a little bit of jump here, and then it flattens out again, and a little bit, and then at the top here, where you actually are kind of marketing, that's when you think, oh, I'm successfully marketing. But guess what? There are lots of parts, like in the valley of disappointment, that actually you were marketing really well. But the problem is that we didn't identify that as like goals and benchmarks for marketing. Okay, so then what does successful marketing look like? Successful marketing is realistic, right? About what we're trying to achieve, what our goals are, what our timeline is. It's to focus on the system, not just the goal. Like our goal is to market, but it's the path that we want to commit to. We're going to make marketing a habit, something that we do regularly, something that it's even just a mindset shift. I should be marketing. No, I want to market. I want to tell people about my business. And then remember, it's about sharing your passion. It's not the sell. It doesn't have to be the sell. It doesn't have to be the ask. It doesn't have to be the tell. It's the share. All right, so today, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take marketing, we're going to break it into 3 different categories. The first step is strategy. This is just about talking about your brand, who you are, what you look like, what you stand for, what you're going to do. 2 is developing your tools. So we're going to apply that brand, that strategy, and we're going to start to develop your logo, your website, your SEO. Guess what? Half of that just needs to be done once, and then you're good, unless you want to revisit something. The third one is about being where people look. So important, right? Like there are places that you can put yourself so that people find you and that you're not constantly trying to find them. Passive marketing, that is so key because that's working all the time. 4, keeping in touch. This is really the heart of marketing. This is really where they've figured out who you are, and you're trying to tell them who you are, and then we're telling people on a regular basis what you're doing and how they should be excited about it. Okay, step 1. So these are the steps that we're going to do within this phase. We're going to talk about your physical strengths. This is a brand, right? Like what does your product physically look like? We're going to talk about your emotional strengths. When you think about your business, are there values, or is there an identity? What's the personality of your brand? The customer, who's going to be buying from you, and what is that problem that you're solving for them? Your story, it's the why, right? Why do you get up every morning and you do that? And then we're going to start to bring your brand to life. Physical brands. All right, so when you look at something, what physically does it look like? Does your mug look rustic? Does your chair look modern? Does your jewelry look playful? Is your soap organic? Is your shirt handmade? Are your shelves industrial? Right? These are words that mean something. When you're not looking at that object, you're articulating what it looks like. Emotional strengths. So now we go a little further, right? Like, is your company kind of sassy and clever? Is it inspired by heritage? Is there a botanical narrative to what you're trying to do? Is it eco-friendly? Is it luxurious? Maybe it's even artistic. All right, your customer. 6 women on this screen, 6 women that have very different tastes. It's not a home run to make something that appeals to everybody, right? If you're selling apples and they want oranges, they're always going to want oranges. But if you find the person who wants the apple, oh baby, you hit a home run because that's what they want, right? And everything is going to talk directly to them. Our tone, our logo, our website, our Instagram, our videos, our blog, everything. All right, everybody have a worksheet, right? Now, I wish we could spend all day together and I can give you time to do this, but guess what? You get to take this home, right? So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna work through some of these, and then I'm gonna use an example and start to fill in the blanks so that you can see how it works. So the first thing is a questionnaire. So this is a brand questionnaire. It has questions like, if somebody couldn't see your product, how would you describe it physically? You know, what are things that you want to know about, you want somebody to know about us? It has things about like who your customer might be, or what you define success as. What are the things that you love to buy yourself, right? What are 2 brands that you love, and why do you think that they understand you so well? It's just getting you to think about these words, how to describe who you are. So assignment number 2 in strategy is to take your answers and start building a brand wheel. So in those little circles, you have spots where you can put a physical. You can say rustic, right, like the cup. You can say emotional, could be sassy, right, or heritage-based. Once you fill the wheel with all these keywords, then we're going to translate that to your elevator pitch. This is how we write an elevator pitch. Your company is a emotional trait and a type of business that offers, serves, or makes the physical trait and product for describe the customer and the problem you solve, right? Lots of information, so let's do it again. Oh, let's do this one first. All right, so anybody heard of Joseph Campbell, right? The Hero's Journey. Star Wars, Alice in Wonderland, Lord of the Rings, right? It's the character living in an ordinary life. There's a call to action, right? Something pulls them from that life. They go on an adventure. There's ordeals, there's death, there's rebirth, and then they come back, the triumphant return. For those of you that live in Maine, I live down in Bath right now. There's a wonderful woman, Susanna Liller. She has the school for real life heroines. She took this story and she applied it to like a growth course. So when you see yourself as the main character, you live a big life. Like you turn your movie into that big story, right? So for those of you that were paying attention, did anybody realize that I did this when I told you about me, my story? I was a young girl in my ordinary world, I was a maker and artist, call to adventure. Sometimes it's not a whisper or something exciting. Sometimes the ground kind of drops from under you, right? My dad said, I'm not paying for art school. You're gonna have to do something that like you're gonna get a degree from. I go on an adventure, right? I understand, I start to see how art and commerce come together. I start to understand marketing. Then I start to work with other clients and I do things for them. Now I come back to my ordinary world and I can sit in front of people like you and share this knowledge, right? We love this narrative. This narrative makes sense to us. It engages people, it entertains people. And when you use that to explain who you are on your about page for your website, people root for you. Like, what, you were a dentist, you were a lawyer, and you got into painting, and now you have to quit your day job because you make so much money in painting? Who doesn't love that story? Okay, so now we're going to use an example to go through all what I've been saying. So me serving oysters. All right, oopsie, that looks funny. Okay, so we know what the brand wheel looks like. So those oyster plates look abstract and expressive. They feel artsy. They're one of a kind. They're local to Maine. They're sculptural. They're original. You can see the brushstrokes and the painterly brushstrokes, right? So what would the elevator's speech be, or pitch be? Serving oysters is an abstract and expressive clay line that offers an artful oyster plate for the modern foodie with a taste for something original. Do you see how easy that is? Just like that, right? What is the hero-heroine's journey? Serving oysters isn't your original play studio. In fact, up until 6 months ago, it didn't exist, and we had to eat oysters off metal trays with us. Set up face, right? After moving to Maine and eating through Mid-Coast Maine, we realized we couldn't find an oyster plate that fit our style and was as fabulous as the local oysters we were serving. Inspired by the beautiful oyster shells, we designed the perfect plate to match this fantastic feast. Serving oysters is a celebration of the most perfect food and the art of plating this wonderful Maine delicacy. How does that sound, right? Like boom, boom, boom. We're not staring at a white sheet of paper trying to figure out how we're gonna write this stuff. We're gonna use the worksheet. All right, how do we bring this brand to life? Now here's where we have an advantage because we're kind of artsy, right? We see language and pictures. We think about the color that we would see in a logo, the font, like things that sort of we react to, things that we aspire to be like for that company. So what does building a mood board look like? You know, use your Pinterest, use your magazines, pull it together. So this was Serving Oysters mood board. There's something so primitive and organic and almost grotesque about pink, right? It feels like blood, it feels like, moving through the veins. There's like paint on things. There's like, cards that look like they're seeping, like it's creeping up, with ink. There's like a rough edge, there's a soft edge, there's a surprise. It captures sort of like the spontaneity of being an artist. All right, so in your book, this is the path, right? So these are mini successes. Have you done exercise 1? Check mark. Yes, I'm on my way to marketing. Have you created your brand wheel? Yes, I have. Are you still working on your hero's journey? Yes, I am. And guess what? We can put weekly goals. We can put timelines on there, right? When you're marketing is now something physical. It's pulling that book out, like that little workbook that I gave you, and it's about doing these things step by step. Please don't forget to rate your mini successes. I nailed it when I came up with my physical attributes. I had a great time. I had a bit of a creative block, so I asked my good friend, we had coffee, and she helped me, and it was so fun to do. Like, I can't believe that like my little project is now turning into something. Or, I was at the grocery store and I saw this wonderful brand and I took a picture of it. Write it in the notes. Remember to go back and look at that. All right, step 2. We're moving along. Everybody's good? We'll have questions later, okay? So I'll be able to do that. So this is about your tools. So now we have an idea of what our brand represents, what it looks like, what our story is. So what is a voice? Well, a voice is like it's a business, how they say things, how they do things, right? Like it's in a certain tone. Your logo, right? Like is it on brand? Is it memorable? Your website, is it, your website's your most important tool because it's really where the business happens. Then your SEO, we'll talk about that and why that's so important. And then we'll start to talk about social accounts, how we set them up. All right, your voice. Again, we have another piece of paper. Think of this as like a Cosmo personality quiz, right? Like, is your business long in tradition? Is it modern? Is it casual? Does it feel luxurious? Is it about saving money? Is it about being handmade? Does it care about the environment? Are you neutral colors? Do you speak like a trusted friend? Do you appeal to women? Are you trendy? Will your customers appreciate your humor? The way that you sort of grade yourself is a guideline, right? So even when you're working with somebody and they want to put together your Instagram post, you can give them this piece of paper so that they're not guessing at what you're trying to do. Your logo. Guess what? If you decide to do it yourself, and I encourage you to because Canva is great for $10.99 a month, you can go onto Canva, you can go onto the templates, and the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you want to see templates that look feminine? Do you want to see templates that look corporate? Do you want to see something that looks elegant or luxurious, right? Now we're talking the language. This is going to get us closer to it. You've got themes. If pink is your thing, you can click on that. If you want to see illustration in your logo, you can click on that. And if you decide, you know what, this is going to take too much of my time, I'm going to hire a designer, you're going to make their life so much easier when you say, this is my brand, this is the physical and emotional attributes, this is sort of where my space is, this is my voice. Like, they're going to be able to deliver a lot quicker. And I see it, I'll know it when I see it just does not work. These are all Canva these are all Canva logos. So if I was looking for something that felt like it was a bit rustic, right? I might find the handmade one. Every part of that I can switch out. I can put my words in there. I can decide that instead of trees, I want like a little ocean wave or a lobster, a paintbrush. It's just plain. And there's always an option to outsource. All right, your website. And believe me, I know that I can spend an hour on each one of these subjects and answer lots of questions about how to do that. But the idea here is just to give you enough to get you going at a foundation to speak the talk. So what does a good website need? Bare bones. You need a logo that's visible. You need your social icons, usually on the top right corner. And why your social? Because if somebody clicks on that, you automatically market to them every time that you put a post out and they see it. This particular template is great because it gives you a sense of the brand, it shows you the best sellers, and then do you see where it says brand products USA? It's kind of like just above follow me on Instagram. These are links probably to other lines that they have or their blog, right? So you're giving them a little bit more content. They might not want to buy a bag at that moment, but they might actually want to hear about how everything is built in the USA or what your story is or what your brand is about. People love Instagram. You know, a lot of websites give you another option that's a little bigger, that gives you a bit of a preview so you can see if that's something you want to add. Most times, even just in the template, you've got a sitemap so that people can just, while they're at the bottom, they can just kind of click to where they need to be. And then, really important, a subscribe to mailing list. This is crucial because the people that opt in to what you're doing are the most excited about what you're going to share. And even if you're just picking up an email list here, like email address here and there, eventually you collectively have a list of people that are attentive to what you're doing. So on Wix, that's one of my favorites. And I never built a website until about a year ago, until I had a client that didn't have a budget but said, well, if you want to try, I'd be willing to just see what happens. So I jumped on Wix. You get to pick a template, and then once you go into it, you can start to just replace images, replace text. A bit of a learning curve, but some really great videos if you're patient. You know, if this is something you choose to put on your plate, it's very doable. And you'll find that a lot of the words that they use to describe like the templates really tie into what we're talking about, like how to describe your brand. Your social accounts. Again, easily another hour. I think last time I spoke on the marketing conference, I just did Instagram for an hour. There's a lot of platforms here. You don't have to do them all. I would suggest that you start small and you start to build up. And some of them can feed into others, right? So you've got your Instagram, tends to be kind of where you show off in photos, right? People like to crush on like your life on Instagram. You know, what inspires you, what you eat in the morning, like, you know, just what makes sense within your brand. LinkedIn is a little more businessy, but if that's where you are most comfortable, you can put a lot of updates on there. Facebook, a bit more community-based. Not everybody's on it these days, but I find that it's good to just even have a page there so that people know where to find you, even if you're not that active. And a lot of people, if they like Instagram, they connect Instagram to Facebook because they're both, you know, owned by the same pop-up. And like, you can, every time you post on Instagram, it goes to Facebook and it looks like you're doing that regularly. YouTube, if you love to make videos, great place to be, right? YouTube is owned by Google, and when you search for something, the videos come right up as an option. TikTok, kind of a younger version, depending on your product and your audience. Pinterest, I have to say Pinterest is actually my favorite because unlike the other social accounts, Pinterest is actually a search engine. So if somebody likes Pinterest, they're gonna look there, they're gonna search there. If they're shopping, if they're looking for inspiration, they're there, right? So if you have a product or a line, it's a great place to start to spread your stuff. And it's kind of evergreen. Do you know that term where it like never goes away? Like, so if you post something up there, like if you post something on Instagram, after months it's buried. But in Pinterest, it's not, because if somebody is searching for what you want, it'll pop up to the top. And then Twitter, of course, a little more drama, but it's about, you know, people like it, like if you were a brewer, a beer brewer, your Instagram, your Twitter strategy might be that you just want to talk about great Maine beers or where to find it. So then you become kind of an authority, and people might follow like the breadcrumbs back to who you are. What makes you such a authority? Oh, you're a brewer in Maine. Like, I might follow you. And then occasionally you might throw a, hey, we just announced a new beer, or we just won an award. You know, so you start to grow some credibility. So I said, in step 2, really we're just talking about setting up your accounts, right? Not having to have a conversation about what the content is. What I would say is that, especially with like Instagram, you want to opt for the business account, because what that does is it gives your followers a little bit more information. You can reach out to them, email them on that button. You can call them, you know, text them, but also when you are looking at the results of like how something is performing, there's analytics there. You can see like how well it's going. You can, you know, we're going to cover this later, you can boost something, push it out into the world, see if you can catch some people that have similar likes. You know, and same with LinkedIn. There are a lot of great blog posts about how to create the perfect bio for LinkedIn. Like, and I just started calling myself a marketing hack, not a marketer, because I didn't go to school for it, but I just learned from Googling, right? Like, if I don't know something, I just Google it. There's so many experts there that will walk you through. All right, your SEO. So this is a scary one for a lot of people, and I'm gonna use this metaphor. You built a beautiful hotel, most amazing destination ever, but you didn't create any roads to that hotel. That is your website without SEO. So SEO is how you tell the search engines how to find you, right? If you don't have SEO, the only way someone's gonna stumble on your site is if they know exactly your address. right? So what SEO does is that remember all those words that we were using, like to define your brand, to define your voice? It asks you, like, how do you describe your business? Use 3 to 5 words, where's your location? And then each page, each piece of content, you can keep repeating those keywords so that Google goes, oh, I get it. Like, so if you're an Airbnb that's located in Maine that is for women only and is a bit of an artist retreat, you wouldn't have to know the name of that business. You would just type that in, and it's like a lottery, right? Like, who has the most connection to those words? Boom, it pops up. When you create a website, if it's Wix, if it's Format, if it's a photo folio, if it's really almost anything, when you click on the marketing and SEO button, which is just on the navigation bar running to the side, they will give you a step-by-step, very much like the path that we have for marketing. Step 1 is this. When you're done, yay, there's like a green check, right? Then you go to the next one. You do that, you don't have to rush it. You can go make a coffee, you drop the kids to school, you can pick it up 2 days later when it's marketing time. But you can just work your way through these questions that they're asking you. It's very easy. All right, so now let's review. Let's apply it to serving oysters. All right, so you remember our brand wheel and how we were describing it, what our story is, what the mood board was, right? What colors we were leaning towards, the shapes, the sort of spontaneity, what kind of font are we going to use? All right, so these are 4 cards that we came up with using Canva. Everything you see was used by Canva. The artwork is there for free when you pay the $10.99. All the fonts, we just started playing. So we ended up with the pink one. That was the one that we felt worked the best. Now we start thinking about the website, right? Like how we're gonna lure people in, how we're gonna make it feel artsy, right? We could have gone with a priority of Maine-based, or maybe it was tied to like the art of food, right? That would feel a little different. But in this particular case, when you were thinking about the priority, it was the artfulness, right? Like that we wanted to catch. Now I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. So that's my business. And I'm a procrastinator, so I didn't really start this putting the presentation together until about a week ago. And so ultimately everything you're seeing I did in like 3 days. So that is how easy it is to take your object and go to the brand wheel and go to the story and create the pitch, to get onto Canva and decide what you want the logo to look like, and then get on Wix and start working a website. Full disclosure, it's not live yet, but it's getting there. And I started my SEO. So the first thing they ask is, which keywords do you want to use for the checklist, right? I just need 2 to 5 words that describe what I'm doing. So I wrote art-inspired oyster plates from Maine. Easy, right? When the next question is, which keywords do you want to use in your checklist? These are my keywords, right? What I decide. Oyster plate, made in Maine, art-inspired, small business, one of a kind, right? Like these are coming straight off of all the work that we've been doing. So I got 2 out of the 7 done, and 15 out of the 34 done for step 2, but I'm just working my way through. I don't have all my pages left, but it's a work in progress. But I'm moving in the right direction. All right, step 2 checklist. So this is just, I'm envisioning you all having a morning coffee or whatever time you do for marketing, and you have your book out, right? And you're following along and you're checking, and you can see how much of evolution your business has had in marketing, like what you're actually accomplishing. Again, things to research, weekly goals, mini successes. This is all you. Don't judge yourself, be kind, right? You got a business that you're trying to run, but what are things that you can tackle? How quickly do you want this part to go? Is there somebody that you want to reach out to do a certain part? This is where all your notes are. Step 3. So this is about being where people find you. This is my favorite part, because if you're in the right place, then that site does the work for you, right? We're talking about the places that sell your products, the directories that you can be listed in, the communities online and in person that you can connect with. Then we'll do a little 2.0 marketing, and we'll talk about search ads and social boosting and advertising, so you know what that is. So when you want to tackle it, you can. All right, so finding distributors, finding directories, finding communities, this is what we're talking about, right? You can sell your paintings on Saatchi Art. You can go to the clay studio and create a store. You can do a pop-up in your local town, or Portland, or New York, or San Francisco. A friend of mine did a pop-up in Pottery Barn at the main mall. They were looking for like small businesses. She was a bag maker. The farmer's market, maybe you are a skin line, a beauty line, that people shopping at the farmer's market care about like where the products are coming from, where they're, if it's organic, right? Like that could be a great place to like introduce who you are. Etsy, of course, right? Another one, Yelp, right? Like if you're on Yelp, maybe the first step is creating a profile, putting some pictures in. Then maybe a couple months later, you start thinking about maybe advertising with Yelp. Maybe it's about getting on their blog of like 20 top breweries to go to, or in the Portland area. But all these places are really useful, and your next assignment is actually just keeping them all on one sheet of paper. Now you don't have to fill these out all in one afternoon, but if you pin it up on your wall, every time you hear about a success story and you find out, well, where did they sell that? Oh, that's an interesting one. You write it on this, right? So that it's just constantly growing. All right, boosting and advertising on social. So here's the thing. I can have an Instagram account, and I have followers, and when I put a post on there, post something, they might see it, right? It just goes out, and if they happen to be looking, depending on how many people they follow, hopefully they see mine, right? But there's a thing called hashtags, right? The way that I like to describe hashtags is like it's an invite to a party, right? So I'm a clay artist, and my hashtag is clay art in Maine, and that's my invite. If I put that hashtag on my images, I'm joining a party, a bigger party with a lot more people that share that same hashtag, right? So if I boost something with the hashtag, or I say that this is what I want to find people that have similar likes, it pushes my image, my post into somebody's feed that doesn't typically follow me, right? So, you might gain followers that just, like if you boost a great quote and it resonates with somebody, they might follow it back to your site and then, or your account, and then start following you. So it's a way of like pushing your work up a little further higher up, or it's a way of getting into somebody's account that wouldn't typically follow you. Every platform really does it. Instagram is very easy. You basically say, this is the one I want, this is the goal, I'm going to define the audience, women in Maine, 35 to 55, and you're going to say, I'm going to promote it for 5 days, and I'm just going to spend $30. Done. Like, that's what they do. Similar to Facebook, in fact, when you're kind of working on Instagram, you see a lot of Facebook sort of language. You can get a little bit more complicated. but you don't have to. You can keep it really simple. And if you find that it's actually working, but you want to spend more time, then find somebody that does it. There's so many virtual assistants that really specifically focus on like social. LinkedIn and Pinterest both have ad managers so that you can like connect to like related words and like seed keywords so that it just pushes into their feed or pushes up like in the priority. And then this is a good one, and I really would, I'm just gonna plant the seed, right? Like, so if you were an Airbnb, like I mentioned, that is located on coastal Maine, is for women, and is kind of a creative retreat, right? What you can do is you can create a search ad on Google, and it'll say, when these words come up from somebody who's searching it, I want you to pull my site up, right? So the budget is basically how much do you want to spend per click? Now, I'm a tiny little Airbnb, right? It's above my ceramic studio. It's not mine, but it's a client of mine. And I might not spend as much as like a big boutique hotel or a big like retreat, but if you're specific, the chances of you coming up is better, right? Like if you just say an Airbnb in Maine, you got to stand in line with a lot of people. But if you're saying that I'm an Airbnb that are for women only, that are in Mid-Coast Maine and a creative retreat, you're going to have a better chance of going up there, like on the top search, reveals. So anyway, I'm throwing that out there. I'm planting the seed because it's a great way. And again, you're setting the budget. You're setting what your expectations are. But it's a real, once you get your feet, grounded and you've got all your stuff going on and you're moving into different ways that you can expand your business, you might want to think about this. All right, step 4. Whew, how are we doing now? Everybody good? Yeah. 11:45, I'm watching the time. All right, so this is about keeping in touch. This is about the newsletters, the emails, the blog, why it's important, the social. And then we're gonna visualize sort of what your marketing path is, how you really scheduled it. So just like Wix, so just like Canva, we have a lot of DIY places that you can tap into. A lot of them are tied to email programs, so MailChimp, Constant Contact, Emma, Flowdesk. I think Wix, you can just buy into their email program so that when people are opting into your email, that you can just create it within that platform. But ultimately, an emailer could be an announcement, it could be a share. Hey, we just had a sale. Hey, we just hired somebody. Hey, we just won something. Hey, we have we're selling seconds for limited time. It's a great sort of announcement. It's like gets maybe perks somebody's interest in what you're doing. A lot of companies also do a newsletter, and this might be once a quarter, once a month, and it's an opportunity to just sort of highlight things that you're doing. So maybe you were in the paper, maybe you want to talk about an award you won and you can link to it. Maybe you want to just talk about the best book you read. Like it could be really personal. Like I just did a newsletter for a client of mine who's a commercial photographer, and we started putting a list together of all the things he accomplished. And one of them was that he read this like huge book and he loved it. And I'm like, let's just put it on there. And it was surprising how many people actually clicked on that, So it's like, it's just about like staying relevant. It's about, telling people about what successes you have. Like let them root for you. Let them, get excited about you building your business. Your blog, right? Again, almost any website platform that you create or somebody creates for you has the option to build a blog. And what I would say is that there have been moments where people really felt like they needed to blog, right? Like blog a picture a day, blog a thought a day. That's not the kind of blogs that I like. I think that you can be really strategic about your blog. So if you were, let's talk about the beer brewer, right, the local brewer. If your blog is all about your business, right? Like not just your business, but your industry. Like the best pilsners, like 5 great pub crawls for like Portland. What's the difference between a German pilsner and American pilsner? Or how, like, let me just like give you 10 different types of hops, right? Maybe that doesn't mean anything to anybody in here because they don't like beer, but for the people that do like beer and they're looking for that kind of stuff, they're looking for those topics and they're hitting your blog and they're hitting your website, right? So we're giving them information, but we're tying it to our business. So they might actually go visit your business because they're on your site, they're on your blog. It's really important that you think about your client and what they're excited about, right? If you're gonna put the time into writing a blog. You also really need to think about the title that you pick for that blog. This is not the moment to prove how smart and creative you are. Like, I'll give you an example. I work with a client that is a coach. So she wrote this blog and she wrote a conversation with your dragon. What does that mean? Who knows, right? If that was a book on like the shelf, maybe that you'd be curious enough to read it. But if you're a search engine, what are you going to do with that, right? What would make more sense is like how to confront a deep fear that you have in your life, or how to move past. That's actually going to tie into maybe what somebody is trying to Google, right? So be smart about like how you title your blogs. You want to be found. There's always a subheading. You can always be as smart and creative on that line, but you know, like, and then don't forget to do the SEO so that people find you. Another trick about like your blog and your SEO and your website is that some people have pillar pages on their site. So let's say that you are you make olive oil in Maine. Crazy, right? So you might decide that your pillar pages are specific to being like an organic company, or like you might decide that your pillar page is about the benefits, the health benefits of olive oil, right? These are things that you could blog about, but if they're so crucial to your business, if you build it as a pillar page for your site and you expand it to maybe like, 1,500 words with photos and SEO, guess what? Every time somebody is looking for health benefits of, like, they don't even think they need to buy olive oil from Maine, but they're looking for the benefits of olive oil, they're getting introduced to your site because your blog, this pillar page is on your site, right? When I first started getting excited about marketing, I listened to a guy speak, and he was in the pool business. He wasn't concrete, it was a different type of pool, right? So anyway, he decided his pillar pages were about how much a pool costs, right? The 5 best pool companies in this area, the difference between concrete and fiberglass. He was a fiberglass guy, right? These were all questions that people like actually Google, right? Like, and so he made it so that every time somebody was wondering about that question, that they were thrown onto his site because that's where his information was. He even said, he ran into one of his competitors and said, man, I can't believe you created that like whole page on your site about all these great like competitors of yours. I don't know why you did it, but thank you. It's like, well, guess what? Whenever somebody is Googling that competitor's site, when they get the listing of Google, they're going to see that site, and then they're going to see your site because you mentioned them, right? So being smart like that, again, it's like 2.0 marketing, but it's things to start to think about. Your social, all right, again, like I said, we can spend a whole day talking about all the different platforms and how to like create content. My best advice to you is to find the platform that you feel the most comfortable with, because you kind of have to do it a lot, right? And you have to be consistent. Like, people see not just one image, but like a board, or the wall, or like the feed. people say I've heard this a few times, but there's a percentage, right? Like that 80% could be share and 20% could be ask, right? So you don't say buy. You say, this is what inspires me, and this is what my studio looks like, and I'm excited I'm working on something. Check out, this video of me on the wheel, and then, oh, by the way, our product just got launched we're so excited, go check it out. So there's a balance of what you want to do. A lot of people talk about content creation, right? So it's a bit of a softer way of promoting yourself. So if you love to be on video and you like to do tutorials, maybe you do a time lapse of you painting. We see that a lot, right? Or maybe you're visiting, you're blogging about some sort of restaurant or a new bakery, and you want to talk about it because, maybe you're in the food business. But this kind of content creation can be really key to like creating a social post, because if you start with that, like, hey, I have this idea, I want to create some content. It's gonna be all about this new bakery in town. So I'm gonna create a video and I'm gonna go interview them. I'm gonna post about it, maybe on my YouTube channel. I might post it on Facebook, I might post it on Instagram. So this content could be spread, right? So they say that like you should really spend less time making something and more time distributing it into your different platforms. And you don't have to be exactly the same, but like a different twist, because if you're on Twitter, it's gonna be all text, maybe a little picture. But when you're on Instagram, it's all picture and video, right? Bringing it to life. All right, so let's talk about your marketing path here. Let's make sense of what we did for a second. The first thing we did is we started with a questionnaire. The questionnaire really asked you questions about what your brand looks like, what it feels like, what the voice is, right? With that questionnaire, we were able to create a branding wheel, and we started down this path. From the branding wheel, we created a journey. We kind of started talking about our customer, and then thinking about our customer, we started thinking about the distributors, the directors, and communities that we can get in front of this customer for, right? The other thing we also did with that branding wheel is that we moved to the right or to the left, and we hit a mood board. We started to really visualize what we think our brand looks like. And from that mood board, we created a logo, we created a website, we started talking about the SEO, we figured out our voice, we started setting up our social accounts. So even though we haven't actually done anything really crazy yet, we've been marketing. Like, look at all the marketing, right? This is the ice cube that hasn't hit the melting point, right? All this action is happening. And now we're at our marketing touch points. Our marketing touch points is just what I was talking about: the emails, the social posts, the blogging, the advertising, the videos, reviews and testimonials, the press you can get, the networking, right? We call it touch points because these are things that you touch people with, right? Like different ways that we can connect with people that potentially become your audience, and then building that relationship with your customer. All right, back to our workbook. I gave you a list of touch points so that you can start thinking. You don't have to fill that out. You can start thinking about what that is. So in the world of marketing, people recommend 10 touch points a month, right? 10 touch points with your clients. So here's a list of online, offline, and in-person. Getting testimonial reviews and putting them on Instagram, huge, right? A news article, offline. A loyalty program, a sponsorship. Maybe you sponsor an event, a local event, and your name is getting connected with something. Then that could be online, offline, even in person. Maybe you do a pop-up, maybe you join the Chamber of Commerce, maybe you do a fair, a trade show, right? These are all, the work is there. You just have to start putting the puzzle pieces together. So this is kind of a new idea. This is something that I have been thinking about, because I think that like when you are developing a habit, there's a point where it sticks and there's a point that you abandon it, right? And you've got to think about how much effort you have to put into it and what the effect is, right? So in thinking about your online, your offline, your in-person, all these touch points, I want you to really think about where are the big wins that come naturally. I love making posts for Instagram. That's an easy one. Put that one in that corner. You know, I hate blogging, but now I understand that it's really important. So I'm going to put it in a must-do, but I'm going to commit to trying to do one a month, right? What are the long-term projects in process? Boy, Karen was talking about that search engine stuff. I want to put that on my list of things to start to work on and then give myself a budget. What we're trying to do here is just create something that's manageable, like what you can handle. You can change it at any point, you can pull back, you can add to it, but just in an effort and sort of return, what makes the most sense? What are you attracted to? Because like the good habits, like the things that really stick are the things that you have fun doing, right? It's the things that don't feel like work. And if you can start to fill up the passive marketing, the fun stuff in in your 10 touch points a month, then we're really talking about a marketing that works, that will stick. So let's talk about your schedule. So this is in your workbook too. I gave you a weekly schedule and I gave you a monthly schedule. The weekly schedule is kind of a brainstorm. Is there something that you're going to do online? What days are you going to do it? Are there something that you want to do on offline? What days are you going to do it? Is there something you're going to do in person? What days are you going to do it? Right? More importantly, or just as equally as important, is the marketing schedule for the month. Did you hit your 10 touch points, or maybe you didn't? Maybe your goal was just 5, right? But we're talking about the weeks that we're doing it. Now remember the passive. So if you get listed on Yelp, if you sponsor a big annual event, if you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, those are 3 touch points that you can put on there that you don't really have to be writing content for. You know, you love Instagram, great, or you love Pinterest, then put that on there. We're almost at 5 already, like without having to put a ton of effort into it. Checkpoint, this is our checklist for step 4. So this is the big one, but while we're sort of setting up our exercises and sort of giving us a launching pad to just keep going, again, things to research, mini successes, reminders, weekly goals. This idea is about the path. Don't forget, it's not just the goal, it's the path. If you stay on the path, then you arrive at the goal. All right, last one, last screen. All right, so marketing community. So it's almost May, but April. Last year in April, a little story from Karen, I decided I'm gonna go to the gym, right? Not because I need to fit in a wedding, a dress for a wedding, but because, I wanna be able to get out of my chair when I'm 60, 70, right? Like, I had the talk with the doctor. This is really important. Like, it's not about the event anymore, it's about really being healthy, right? I don't like going to the gym. I mean, when I was a kid, I played soccer, awesome. I like to walk, right? But what I realized is that if I don't think about the gym, but I think about, like, my task is to put my workout clothes on as soon as I wake up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the chances of me getting to the gym is actually better. So we kind of have to trick our brain, right? Like, so if marketing is just grabbing that worksheet and looking at it, then we're like halfway there, right? Another thing that's gonna make it stick is making it fun, right? That's why we visualize what we enjoy doing and where the result is, because maybe that'll bump up those touch points. Another thing is doing it with people. So, again, the procrastinator. 2 days ago, I put this up. It's a marketing Instagram, and it's my journey. I'm not really a marketer. I'm kind of a marketing hack. I didn't go to school to study marketing. I couldn't, for the life of me, create those forms and reports, right? I can't look into Google Analytics and make it all make sense. But I do really understand a lot of things that are tied to how somebody buys, what makes people buy, how to create, craft the right message. And I know that when you do something with everybody, with a group of people, you're more inclined to keep it up. So today I did not bring any cards. If you want to follow me, if you want to keep in contact, you follow me on Instagram. You can give me a hard time if I'm not posting. You can tell me that something worked for you. You can send me stuff that you're doing and I'll post it on here. And if we together try to market, then we'll be able to keep this going. So, and if you want my phone number and email address, that's where it's at. All right, well that was it. You're welcome. Do we have any questions?
I'm curious on Instagram, if you pay to boost a post, I know this is very specific information, but if you pay to boost a post, is it the kind that says sponsored on it, or will it just?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't say sponsored, but there's usually a call to action. When you boost something, do you want people to look at your site, or do you want people to go back to your Instagram account? Do you want somebody to learn about an event, right? There might be a message right there, but it's really minimal. It feels very natural. Yeah. And somebody over here have a question? No. Really? No question? There.
Okay, so the blogging thing is really because you've all followed those blogs, so they come in really hot stuff right away. So what do you feel people have been most successful with, and the amount of blogging?
How many blogs?
Yeah, what really you see people stick to?
I think if you're a writer, you probably have an appetite for writing, that most other people don't. But I think you can be successful with just 2 a month. Yeah, because 2 a month a year from now, and if you're smart about how you use those subjects, how you use your subject lines, you're putting really, it's like you're fishing, right? You just got this really shiny lure that you're throwing out there. And for the people that really want that apple that you're selling, they'll find it.
Yeah. You can combine that with with the email you send out.
Anytime that you combine it, that's 2 checks on the touch point. Yeah.
Just building that, what's an ideal word length for a blog?
That's a good question. So, so Google can't decide what it likes the most. I think that the latest is somewhere around 1,200. Yeah. So it's not little. It's got to be a bit significant. So I would say over 1,000, to be safe. But there's got to be some meat in that, so that you can do whatever you want. But if your goal is to be up higher in the ranks, you have to sort of play along with what Google says that they want. Yeah.
I was wondering about the logo. Looked like a lot of them were sort of monochromatic. Do you recommend limiting colors or something in the logo? Or?
What I would say about that is that you have to think about what you're going to use your logo for. So some logos are beautiful, with multiple colors, but you might not have an opportunity to use all those colors on a baseball cap or a t-shirt or letterhead or something that's engraved. So if you go the really colorful, intricate, just maybe think about how to minimize it so that you can tag it. For example, if you wanted to sort of put a watermark on something, or if you wanted to just make sure that it's not about saying it's mine, it's this is how you can find me, right? So you might want things that are little, that you just need to be able to either evolve that intricate one or just think about it in a more simpler term. All right, we can talk about that again. So pillar, think of it as like in your business or your industry, these are key things that really are why you are in business together, right? So like I use the example of like olive oil, right? Like if you really believe in the benefits of olive oil, that becomes a great pillar page, because if it's like you're not just talking about your business, you're talking about the benefits of your business, right? And so anybody that is curious about that actual subject, the benefits of olive oil, like they might actually go onto your site, and they're not really looking to get onto your site. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're just waiting for somebody to look up you, you're not going to get a lot of traffic. But if you create all these ways for people to sort of bump into you because of the content, right? Then it's a win. It's an opportunity to potentially make a lead or even a customer. So not everybody does it, and like I said, it's kind of a 2.0 thing. But if there were like 2 or 3 things that you were really adamant about, right? That you felt like was so important to maybe that you're associated with, you don't even have to write 2,000 words. I'll give you a great example. The woman that was the Airbnb, I made her a pillar page, all the great, like what to visit on the Mid-Coast Maine. So we had restaurants, we had beaches, we had stores, we had all their information, like their website, their phone number, like what city they're in, and like anybody wanting to visit Mid-Coast Maine has now the potential to go onto our site, even if they're not looking for an Airbnb. So the more traffic that gets to your site, the more Google says, oh, this must be a really important business. Let's keep moving it up on the list, right? So there are a lot of kind of tricks to sort of make Google think that your business is more important. But let's just say you were a business, a person that was traveling, and you thought, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to stay at the Marriott. And then you're Googling, you're excited about your trip, you want to see like what's up in Maine, you're really hitting different blogs, right? Like all these blogs talking about it, and all of a sudden you pop on to somebody's blog that's about an Airbnb. You might have never in a million years thought that's what you wanted to do, but because you're on it and you're like looking at all these resources, and then you start to like explore, well, what is this? What other things do they talk about? Like what's on their blog? What is their business? All of a sudden, you're booking a night at this place because you're like, oh wait, this is great. I never thought I could have an experience like this. I was just thinking I was going to stay at some like chain hotel. That's why a pillar page is exciting. Yeah. Is there a question over here?
Yeah, I was wondering about blogs, if just a quote is enough to put in to start a blog, or is
Well,
there a better place?
So think about why we have a blog, right? We have a blog because we want to explore a topic, and we want Google to see that topic as something that they could share with people that are also looking for that topic. So if you had a quote, I would say it's great that you want to share a quote, but maybe the blog isn't the right touch point. Maybe it's Instagram, right? Instagram is great for a quote. You could even just handwrite it, and take a photograph of it and stick it on Instagram. So there are definitely smarter ways, like more useful ways to say what you want to share.
What is your thoughts on the Linktree thing?
Oh, actually, that's really important, right? So when you're talking about like in Instagram, like where the bio is, so Instagram's evolved. They've added things that people have asked for, or there's been companies that have created something in it because there was a need, right? So there are now different companies that create like an extended bio in Instagram. So you can, for like I think they just changed it, right? Like Instagram now is letting you have more than one live link. But before you wrote your bio and you had like one link to share, right? So it would most likely be your website, but then if you had an event, you'd have to go in and change it, and you'd say like, go into my bio to click the link, right? So what we're talking about is like an opportunity to build out like buttons that you can click. So if you, like I have a client that, that links to their blog, their podcast, the events that they're having, you know, not just their website. And, you know, we usually, like, so a scheduler, Tailwind is a scheduler that you can use so that you don't have to log into Instagram and fill out like the post and the quote, or, you know, the copy. So you go into, you know, okay, so the workflow would be I go into Canva, I create like a little post, right, some artwork, then I would load that into Tailwind, and then Tailwind would say, do you want to put it on Pinterest or do you want to put it on Instagram? I click Instagram, and then I would post it. I add the picture, I write the copy, I add the, you know, they actually have a place where you can set like a saved list of hashtags, so you just click on that, you don't have to write them every time. And then you can pick when you want to schedule it. I'm going to schedule it on Saturday at 6 in the morning. And then I can say in my Smart Bio, like, please link the registration link to that, right? Or I can go into the Smart Tree link tree and I can say, like, these are specific buttons that I want like floating at the top. So for those of you that are familiar with Instagram and you go into someone's bio, you can see that there are some, like, you can click on a link and it says, it goes into a spot where you've got like permanent buttons that you can click that get you to other places. I don't know if you have any experience with Lightning Link, but we're just playing with that right now. So if you take the link of, like, for example, I work with this company called Superstock. It's really kind of an old legacy from when I was in the stock world, but I do a lot of their marketing. And so we just bought into something called Lightning Link. So when I post an image from their collection, I can put the link in the copy, and though you can't click on it, like while you're looking at the post, what you can do is go to the bio and click on the Lightning link, and it takes you right to that image if you want to buy it. So why is that interesting to you guys? So if you were, like, Instagram has rules about like how accessible you can make links when you want to sell a product or something. But like with Lightning Link, what you can do is you can post about something and then you can build out this sort of link tree inside your bio that links you directly to buying that bag, that shoe, that, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, it's a good question. Anybody else? No. All right. I'm expecting lots of DMs then about your business. Hey Karen, remember that time you said, what did you mean? Now I'm checking my path. Alrighty then. Well, I think we are at lunch, right? All right. Thank you.